1 week. That is how far away the most anticipated rocket launch of the year is. And on Sunday, May 4th, 2026, something exploded at the launch site. Not the rocket, not the pad, but something that every single Starship launch absolutely cannot happen without. And right now, the entire space community is holding its breath, waiting to find out whether the May 12th launch window is still alive. This is the full story of what just happened at Starbase, why it matters more than most coverage has explained, and what it means for the first ever flight of Starship V3, the most powerful rocket configuration ever assembled by human beings. SpaceX is preparing to fly Starship Flight 12, and everything about this mission is a step beyond what came before it. The vehicle stack for this flight consists of Booster 19 and Ship 39, the first fully integrated version 3 configuration of the Starship system. Version 3 is not a minor upgrade. It uses a completely new generation of Raptor engines, designated Raptor 3, that produce significantly more thrust and operate at higher chamber pressures than any previous version. The booster carries 33 of these engines in its base. The ship carries 6 more. The combined thrust at liftoff is the highest ever attempted by any rocket in the history of human spaceflight, exceeding even the extraordinary output of the Saturn V that carried Apollo astronauts to the moon. Joe Petrzelka, SpaceX's vice president of Starship Engineering, described Booster 19 publicly as the most ambitious vehicle his team has ever tackled. That is not marketing language. It is a direct statement from the engineer responsible for building it. The road to Flight 12 has already been extraordinarily difficult. Earlier in the campaign, SpaceX attempted a 10-engine static fire of Booster 19 on the launch pad at Orbital Launch Pad 2. The test aborted after just 2.135 seconds. The reason was a failure in 2 apex combustors, which are the gas generators, that supply high-pressure nitrogen to the Water Deluge System beneath the launch pad. The premature abort caused mechanical damage to roughly half of the 33 Raptor 3 engines on the booster. SpaceX made a decision that reflected both the urgency of their schedule and the depth of their hardware reserves. They swapped all 33 engines on Booster 19 entirely, replacing the full set with engines drawn from Booster 20's allocation. That is not a minor repair. That is a complete engine replacement campaign on a rocket with 33 engines, conducted under schedule pressure at a remote facility on the Gulf Coast of Texas. Even after the full engine swap, the problems did not stop. A subsequent 33-engine static fire attempt aborted early due to a sensor issue in a ramp manifold. As of the days immediately before the May 4th incident, SpaceX had not yet achieved a full-duration static fire of Booster 19 at the launch pad. That is a significant and unusual situation heading into a launch attempt. Typically, a full-duration static fire is one of the final major verification milestones before a launch. The fact that it had not yet been completed was already creating uncertainty about whether May 12th was truly achievable. And then Sunday happened. On May 4th, 2026, SpaceX was conducting a high-volume water deluge test on Orbital Launch Pad 2. The water deluge system is not an optional extra. It is fundamental to the safety and survival of the launch pad during Starship ignition. When 33 Raptor engines ignite simultaneously, they produce a combined thrust that exceeds 7 million pounds. The heat, the acoustic energy, the shock waves that radiate from that ignition event are so extreme that, without active suppression, they would damage or destroy the launch pad itself, the flame trench, and any hardware in the immediate vicinity. The system at Pad 2 is designed to pump approximately 350,000 gallons of water, equivalent to 1.3 million liters, at extremely high pressure through a steel plate beneath the launch mount, a structure with thousands of precisely positioned holes through which the water erupts upward into the engine plumes during ignition and liftoff. The water absorbs the thermal and acoustic energy, vaporizing almost immediately on contact with the engine exhaust, and protects the pad from the full destructive force of the most powerful rocket ever built. During Sunday's test, something in the system failed catastrophically. A live feed operated by NASA Spaceflight, one of the most respected independent aerospace news organizations in the world, captured the event in real time. In the footage, a brief but intense flash is visible inside the deluge farm, the infrastructure area where the water delivery system's components are housed. Immediately following the flash, a massive plume of water erupts upward and outward. An unidentified object, later confirmed to be the gas combustor, a component of the pressure system that drives water into the pad, was violently thrown outward from the test site in a high arc. The system then shut down automatically. The entire event lasted only seconds. But what those seconds revealed sent the Starship engineering community into a rapid assessment of exactly what broke, how badly the surrounding infrastructure was damaged, and whether the May 12th window was still viable. The source of the explosion has been identified as one of the methalox gas generators that supply high-pressure nitrogen to the deluge system. These apex combustors, as SpaceX calls them, burn a mixture of methane and liquid oxygen to generate the high-pressure gas that drives the water delivery mechanism. They are the same type of component that caused the aborted 10-engine static fire earlier in the campaign, when 2 of them malfunctioned and triggered the premature shutdown that damaged half the booster's engines. The fact that this same category of component is now involved in a more dramatic failure during a full high-volume deluge test is significant. It suggests SpaceX has been dealing with a persistent and systemic issue in this specific subsystem throughout the entire Flight 12 preparation campaign, not just isolated incidents. Early assessments of the damage from Sunday's explosion carried some qualified good news. Observers and analysts reviewing footage of the pad after the event reported that no major structural damage to the launch pad itself or the flame trench appeared to have occurred. The pad deck, the orbital launch mount, and the surrounding major infrastructure appeared to have survived intact. The damage appears to have been isolated to the gas generator that failed, and to some of the overhead cover and roofing panels of the Deluge farm enclosure, some of which were sent flying by the force of the explosion. That assessment, if it holds up under SpaceX's own detailed inspection, means the pad itself did not need to be rebuilt, and the basic infrastructure for a launch attempt is still in place. But the Deluge system itself cannot be in a compromised or unverified state when Starship launches. SpaceX learned this lesson at a price during the very first Starship integrated flight test in April 2023. That launch, Flight 1, took place without any functional water deluge system at Pad 1, the original Starbase launch complex. The result was that the rocket's 33 Raptor engines blew a massive crater into the concrete foundation beneath the launch mount during ignition, hurling chunks of concrete and debris across a wide area, damaging the launch pad extensively, and sending a cloud of dust and rock fragments across the surrounding landscape, including the nearby town of Boca Chica Village. The environmental and engineering damage from that launch was so significant that SpaceX spent more than a year rebuilding and upgrading Pad 1 and designing and installing the Water Deluge System before Pad 1 could fly again. Pad 2 was built from the beginning with a proper flame trench and a water deluge system integrated into the design,